Just gonna hit it. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to do the normal. I have to log in on Facebook just to make sure that the live starts up there. Had to make sure I get some gloss. All right. Give me 1 second, beautiful people. Hopefully that will be going live here momentarily. And yeah, so I'll give it some time. We'll start about 5 after. Totally forgot. Sister, do you mind handing me that water bottle right there? Yeah. Thank you. All right. And if you join, or when you join, if you could just hit me up in the comment section, letting me know you joined and what platform that you're joining on, just so I can make sure they both work nicely. All right. Thank you, sister. All right. Well, I hope everybody's doing good. I'm going to use my phone just to remind me of the topics in which we are speaking about this wonderful evening. I'm super excited about it. Oh, I guess on Facebook, you got to do something else. Okay. 1 second. I see EP9 live, not live. No. Okay. Maybe that will save. All right. All right, beautiful people. Good evening. I hope everybody's having a great day. Once again, I probably should wear my glasses tonight since I will be reading the topics off my phone. And I'm just going over the same topics that I published today. And so give me 1 second, beautiful people. My husband must have forgotten that I'm on the live. 1 moment, please. Babe, I'm on the live. It's okay, sweetie. Thank you. All right, love you. Bye. You know, that's what happens. Life happens. So, you know, I got to make sure my boo's good, especially since he went to the store for me. And, you know, that's important. All right. Yes. All right, beautiful people. All right. So I'm super excited to talk to you. Well, I'm excited to talk with y'all each week, except for I just want to give a reminder to everyone this week or this month, we'll go back to our every other Tuesday. So these intentional conversations happen every first and third Tuesday of the month, same time, same locations. I'll try to do better with getting it on Instagram because life has been life and I haven't been able to look into that too much. So yeah, that hasn't happened, but I'm psyched about tonight. So let me just remind everybody that this is to initiate intentional conversations, specifically as it relates to fathers, dads, and then the partnership with mothers and of course the children and any other part of our village that helps us to raise the family and take care of each other, all that good stuff. Because partnership is not just with the person you had a child with, it's whoever's helping. But I do want to share that. I need some water. 1 moment, please. I do want to share that when we talk about things here, it's not to offer you guys expert opinions or expert advice or recommendations. It is to provide you best practices, lessons learned from experienced people, and then to go over particular topics that sometimes are in, a part of our culture or a part of the worldview, but sometimes it is, well, all the time. Let me clarify that all the time it is going to connect back to what I believe the Lord has charged me to really emphasize and initiate in a dialogue. And when we have conversations here, you guys hit me up on the comment section, whether it's during the live or afterwards. I do my best to try to come back, whether you put the comment on YouTube or you put it on Facebook or whatever. I'll make sure I come back and respond as best as I can. Or you can always send an email to me as well, or DM. But ultimately, it is to make sure that we are initiating conversations that hopefully you guys can start initiating and engaging in other areas outside of this platform, because the topics that we're talking about are definitely relevant and they're necessary for deep dive. All right. So tonight I titled this as Candid Perspectives on Parenting, Partnership, and More. And I went ahead and said, let me go ahead and give you guys as much as I can. 1 second. I'm going to put you on mute. My sinuses are getting to me. I tried to, side note, this is a squirrel moment, guys. I might have these every so often. Lord, I've been trying to get these steps in. I don't know if anybody else is, journeying through the menopause life, but I'm trying to get these steps in, and it's like a furnace outside in Texas, and allergies are ridiculous. So if I stop periodically, just bear with me. All right. So, okay. So tonight is Candid Perspectives, because I do want us to be candid about our perspective. The one thing I think that we have forgotten in the world today is that we all have different perspectives, experiences, thoughts, recommendations that are all valid and valuable, right? The problem we are challenged with is that if someone expresses their thoughts or opinion and another person doesn't agree, it becomes a problem. But that should not be, right? Especially if you don't know somebody personally, right? It should simply be, okay, that's a perspective, right? You don't have to take it. If it's not impacting you, you can leave it alone, right? But I share that to say, please do share your thoughts, your questions, all of those different things as we go through these topics, because I'm putting them out here just for that reason, okay? So the topics I've listed are, what did I put? I put about 5 topics, and then we're going to segue into what I call exploratory discussion questions, because I want us to explore what the impacts are and all that good stuff. All right. So the first topic that I have, I don't know how many. Oh, okay. We only have a few people on, but whoever's on, did anybody watch the BET Awards last night? I was out and about, so I didn't get to watch it. Anybody watch that? Put yes or no if you did. Apparently, on there, of course, oh my gosh, Usher was nominated and won an award, and he shared he gave his speech, but then I guess some parts of his speech was edited out, but then people still caught it. And when they caught the speech, he was sharing perspectives about his journey without having his father present. And so when I get a second, I'll do my best to download that and publish it. But if you get a sec, just look it up. I'm sure if you put BET Awards speech by Usher, not caught on camera or whatever, what was caught off camera, whatever you want to look up. But he shared a lot in that period of time. But the topic I want to talk about, or the 2 statements he made, is he said that, in a nutshell, his father wasn't around. And because his father wasn't around, he dealt with some things. Of course, his mom had it hard because his father wasn't present. But he said at the end of the day, even though his father wasn't present, it both harmed and ended up helping him in different ways. He said his father dealt with a lot of things that other African-American men deal with. And then I'm sure some of the stuff that his father dealt with aren't necessarily race related either. But he said that he had it tough, and that definitely impacted him and how him and his mom's quality of life. And so he also mentioned that, of course, they had tough times, but what he learned was that he had to forgive in order to embrace, I guess, open his heart up so that he could embrace everything else, all of the other blessings that God gave through other fathers that he put in his life. So he had other men on the stage, and he was just giving them their flowers to say thank you for being present. But what he said specifically to the crowd, I'm supposed to go back and check this other piece out. I didn't get a chance to, but apparently he addressed the audience, and he had men stand up and he spoke to them directly. But the part that I did see, Usher, he said, this is the year. He said, what I always say is, this is the year of the father, of the fathers. He said, where all fathers have to stand up for their sons, daughters, and lead. And then it kind of got a little quiet. It mumbled a little bit. He then said, they say success has 1,000,000 fathers. And so those two comments really resonated with me. But I wanted to stop and ask you guys, do you all feel any kind of I don't know, discernment or vibes around men and how and fathers and their engagement in the lives of the family? Lack of engagement, increased engagement. Do you guys feel like there's something, a message that is really starting to spread that's specific to men and fathers and things of that nature? I'm just going to put that out there before I share my perspective. He said this is the year of fathers, that they need to stand up, lead. And so when he said this is the year of fathers, I'm sensing that he got some kind of vibe, feeling, discernment that there's a message that that's out there for fathers, and he was emphasizing it for them to pick up. Does anybody else feel that? And I'll wait because I know there's a delay between the different sites. And if not for fathers, do you all think that there is a message or something that's causing I don't want to say permeating, but I want to say, do you think that there is some emphasis being placed on parents as well? So the presence of fathers, the presence of parents, mothers, lack thereof. I know there's a lot of conversations that I see on videos where women are expressing the fact that they don't have fathers, a relationship with their fathers. A lot of men I've seen lately not having relationships with their moms walking out. It's a lot going on. So I just want to see if you guys have been getting videos and having conversations around this topic. All right, let's see all right, so I have one up. I'll read the comment. I think with all the celebrity mess being exposed with young boys, that may have had a lot to do with fathers not being around. And if there was a male figure in the home, it could have been prevented. Okay, that's I think that's a good perspective, because again, I don't know if it's my algorithms or, the phone listening to me, knowing what I'm about to talk about. So it knows that I'm very much interested in the father-child dynamic and parent dynamic with each other, etc. But I did see several different videos that just have come up in different spaces around predators that are being interviewed. And these predators say specifically that they target kids that do not have a father around. They said, we target number one, we want to see if they have a father around. Talking about boys and girls, kids. They want to first see if they have a father around, and they then want to see if they don't have a father that's in the home. They scout out, they check out the mom's dynamic, see if the mom is stressed out. They want to see if the mom is open to talking and sharing her feelings so that they can get in good with the mom and act as a help to her, because she obviously is burdened and she has no help. So then they come in and they said that they talk to the mom and they say, hey, well, you know what? You don't have to do that for for Robert, right? I'm gonna go pick him up for practice. You got a lot on you. And the mom's like, oh my gosh, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, I got him. They don't really care how old they are either, just as long as they're at an age where they can still be impressionable. That could still be a teenager, for perspective. They also said they do that for girls, because they noticed that, oh, well, let me go ahead and take her shopping. I know her dad hasn't been around or whatever the case may be. Or I'll take her to the movies. I don't mind. I'll sit in the back. That's what was shared. They also said if the father's not around, they also look to see if they don't have any cousins or uncles, because they're scared of them too. So that's why I say co-parent partnership is not only with the dads either. It can be an uncle, bonus dads. My point is that fathers being present, males being present, gives a message beyond what we're talking about, right? And so there is a message of security, protection, especially if they're doing the right thing. You guys already know if the father is not doing the right thing, or the male that's present is not doing the right thing and they're given the counterproductive experience, that's not what we're talking about. All right, let's see here. I also been seeing a lot of positive videos. Also, hopefully there's a shift coming. I've also seen a lot of positive videos as well. And I think that this one with Usher actually speaking out, again, I'm not a people chaser or a celebrity chaser, but when something is brought to my attention, I was grateful that one of my big sisters, she sent me the message this morning, because I didn't see the awards. And honestly, I wasn't planning on talking about these topics that we're talking about today. I was planning on talking about something that I thought the Lord had told me to share. And so what I've learned, and I'm sure those of you that journey with the Lord, you have to know how to pivot and do what he tells you to do and talk about what he tells you to talk about. And so I believe that's what we're supposed to be talking about. Anybody else have any other thoughts about conversations or vibes or feelings about fathers and their presence, and or mothers? And so you can put it in the comments. So I particularly was moved by both of Usher's statements of this being a year of fathers where they're standing up for their sons, their daughters, and leading. And then his statement that they say success has a million fathers. Those both resonated with me for different reasons. Number one, I've been very clear on, I hope I've been very clear on the fact that I know maybe for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even beyond that, I've been very aware of God really wanting to help change the narrative around fathers and help men understand how valuable and essential they are to the family. And again, I didn't grow up with all the positive male figures in some instances of my life, but I did have a lot in other spaces. I've had my bonus dads, I've had cousins and different people that I've been around. And I've always been curious about men and their experience. And I can say, I shared this in one of the last videos. There was some research that I looked into, and this was research done in another country. And they had looked at suicide letters written by men, the ones that did write or send a message. And the words that were used most commonly was worthless, useless. It was another one, but all of them were, I'm not needed. And so that is definitely a message that I've also heard when I was interviewing men, which is interesting because it also triggered ego and pride. When men felt like they're not needed, there's an extra elevation in pride and ego, like kind of this mask, a facade that is put up. And so they don't really engage with women in the same way. right? They engage with women with this facade or fictitious character, which may be rude, they may be disrespectful, because they think that's what protects their heart. Or they think that if there's something else, they won't be worthy or won't be attractive, or they'll be seen as simps or weak, or all in their feelings all the time, and all of those different things. And sassy, that was another one. And so they come off as hard, dismissive, um, uninterested, or whatever. Maybe somewhat as a Kevin Samuels. I'm not a fan personally of Kevin Samuels. Let me be clear. I do think he had points that I listened to. I did think that what I was very much disheartened by was women continuing to call him to be put down, although he was given some solid points sometimes. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that there are men now that have picked up his way of thinking, and they have taken it on, and they pretty much have been now in a position to really talk down to women or tell them what they're missing from an aesthetics perspective, right? What they're looking like and that's a problem. And then we have women doing the opposite, doing the same thing on the other end. These men aren't this, these men aren't that, but we're all given a message that no one's worthy. No one's enough, and we don't need it. But anyhow, let me read another comment here. It's funny that you don't see celebrities thanking their fathers. This is so true. It's always the mothers. I see that all the time. I always say my son used to play football, and I already knew that if he did make it, he wasn't going to be thanking me first. Although I was at the games and bringing the snacks and stuff like that. My husband was too, but that's his best friend. So I knew I probably wasn't going to be like, I want to thank my mom first. But anyway. But I do notice that. I know that consistently, because that is who's been present for a lot of athletes, a lot of people that have made it. Politicians. I just saw a politician ad that talked about from this. He's a politician here in Texas, but he was like, my mom, it was a single mom, but I didn't have a father. I'm not a fatherless child. And then he gave kudos to his mom. And so once again, I think we recognize there's a disconnect, and I just want to echo what Usher was saying. I don't believe God is being unclear, and I'm coming from what I believe God is saying, as far as I think he's really wanting us to understand, number one, the thing that's being attacked first in this world is our identity. Our identity. I'm not talking about Christian identity. I'm talking about who you are as a person, and who we are, who actually instills that in us first, are our parents. If one parent is out, or the other parent isn't there, or there's a disconnect, or our parents don't even know who they are, right? Because they haven't done their due diligence, or we've talked about this before, trauma gets transferred when we don't deal with it. So we end up transferring our trauma, and then our kids become a reflection of either our insecurity, our fear, or our trauma, perpetuating those types of things. But it's a problem, right? And so men foundationally need to be reminded, and need to embrace the fact that they are here to be a foundation and a good fortress for identity in the family. That is what I believe was called out to me with what Usher was sharing, because when people see a man stand up for his family, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. I don't even care if the man doesn't know that, if he doesn't feel all secure in his on his own. When he sees that his family is like, okay, I'm happy he's here, that gives him an extra, I don't know, straightening in the back or whatever, right? So I feel like men, we need to, and this is why I always encourage women to join these conversations, because um, I I just believe that it's as simple as men need to remember, and we need to help them remember. And then as they remember, they will remember how to feed us as women and how to pour into us. And that's how this whole reciprocity is supposed to work anyway, right? As we elevate, as I encourage you, you encourage me. As I course correct you, you course correct me, right? All the extra elements of, oh, don't judge me, don't, and getting ready to fight, that's all part of the distraction to keep us disconnected and keep us in conflict with one another, instead of really caring for what the issues are and caring for the family so that we can actually grow. So that I just want to emphasize again, there is a message, a clear message that I believe should be emphasized, which is men are needed, and we need for them to also know who they are in a character, from a character perspective. So something we're about to be real right now. I was talking to my cousin, and we were talking about like some men's identity as they get older, right? And I have some men I know that they were only known for, being nice looking on the outside, right? And laying it down in the room, right? When I say laying it down in the room, I'm saying they felt like, and this is that no kids are supposed to be on here because that's what I put on YouTube. They said, "Well, I know how to lay the pipe." That's what this the kid. That's what they said. So, all right, so that's their identity. I look good and I lay this pipe, right? Now, here's the thing: age starts creeping up, right? Oh, hold on. Either they look good, they lay the pipe, or they got the cash, right? All right. So then age starts creeping in. Typically, as long as your business is legit, you may keep the money, right? So that's cool. But when testosterone and stuff starts coming in and starts diminishing, right? Sometimes the plumbing is disrupted and the pipe activities don't move forward like it used to. So that's a problem, especially if you have your identity in that, right? So then you become insecure. Then you have the looks. What if something happens, right? And you just don't look, you ain't aging right. I don't know, for a myriad of just reasons. I mean, sometimes it just happens to everybody, but that's why you have to have something in the inside. I bring up all these different things because no one is exempt. And if you have your identity in your looks, and you have your identity in laying the pipe or laying it down in the room for the women as well, understand nature. You do not escape from nature. I don't care what you get, right? So things happen. You have to have something more solid, because if you understand who you are, then that shapes your identity. And once you understand who you are and you start walking in that, outside of your aesthetics, outside of what you can do in the bedroom and your money, that is where then we start talking about character. Once we start talking about character, then we start talking about how do we actually have legacy in that, because that is what is fruitful, right? And so but the problem is we don't have those conversations. We're not having those candid conversations circulating across the internet. We're having a lot of conversations about the things that will deteriorate or will diminish over time. And we're talking, and unfortunately, because we talk so much about it and that's what gets the likes, that the algorithms circulate that more, then our kids start watching it, right? So then our kids start looking at, oh, well, who are the men looking at, right? Whose picture is circulating the most? The one that looks a certain way. Okay, who are we liking the most with the commentary? Oh, we're liking the ones that are, they say they're keeping it real, right? And they probably are hey, rules are relative, I guess, to their situation. But oftentimes they're talking about things that are just very surface. Oh, if she don't got this, she's not 5'7", if she doesn't have this curve, if she ain't this weight, or if he ain't tall and he's not packing, if he's not at least this. These are all things that really do not make anything last. But these are the things that people are finding their identity in. And then because of social media, because they're putting it here, it's circulating, and then it's telling the next generation that that's where you find your identity. Then we wonder why when the kids put something out there and someone says something about their looks or who they are, what they're doing, it impacts them, and then it keeps circulating. Then they decide, is my life worth it? Do I need to be here? Then you have an increase of depression. You have an increase of what else? Suicide. You have an increase in dissension in relationships because, oh, you like this person and I saw this, or, it's just a lot of toxic things going around. Yes, Camille, so much toxic talk and focus. And we all know whatever you feed grows. That's what social media is, right? Whatever likes you get, whatever. And the thing is that we're now incentivized for it, right? Whoever actually, whether it's TikTok, whether it's YouTube, whoever gets the likes, right? Then you become the influencer. What they influencing? Toxic talk and focus, toxic things for you to really take in. And we all know that fruit, healthy fruit, when it's next to rotten fruit, rotten fruit doesn't become healthy. Right? We all know. So we know these things, but my point is, because I got on a tangent real quick, and I will get on a tangent real quick. My point is that it's impacting our identity, right? And real talk, you guys, this is, it depends on how you feel about your, where you find your faith and your foundation at. Mine is, I'm a believer in Christ. I believe the word. I done read it several times from end to end. And I'm just telling you, the block is getting real hot. It's been hot, but it's getting hotter, right? And so if you don't understand what's at stake when your identity is unclear, and I'm not talking about finding your identity and your sexual preference and all that. I'm talking about all of it. What I mean is I'm not isolating it. I'm saying everything. And if we're not really focused on legacy, who are we? Because legacy starts with who are we? Then what are we trying to pass on to the next generation? And how does that continue to be fruitful? If we're not focused on that and we're not having intentional conversations on that, then really, what are we talking about? Let me read some of these comments because this is an interactive conversation. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yes. We grab a hold of wherever we're at. So whatever we're doing, we grab to it. And unfortunately, if it's in a negative space or whoever's validating us, that's counterproductive. Then we have Jerry. Okay, they say the way, I'm just going to read the comment. Y'all know I should have my glasses on. I forgot about that. I'm probably still, these aren't the real, these are some of them, they're not my stronger. So I'm still close. Okay, so Jerry, okay, so they say the way to a man's heart is through his belly. Basically, by feeding a man positive things and verbally confirming your trust in him builds him up in so many ways. Therefore, as a man that hold on, it's a man that okay, I had to make sure I got that right. Therefore, as a man that feels second to none, when that comes from your family, it encourages a man to keep striving towards greatness for his family. And I absolutely, Jared, that wasn't you. I already told you, I should have got these other glasses over here, but I thought these would work. Anyway, but like you're saying, bottom line is that men are encouraged through being affirmed and being acknowledged, but so are women. Like, this is the reality of what we're looking for. Goes back to, what is it the golden rule? Do unto others as they do as you would like them to do unto you. The only thing is that all you got to do, the foundation is, you need to ask or assess the person you're with and see what helps them, right? And you would like for them to do that too. Assess and watch you and ask you. And when you do that, then you learn what is, like Jerry said, how do you actually touch the heart? What comes from the heart speaks the heart. So if you're really concerned with the care of his heart, of a man's heart, then you find out what is burdening his heart, what is causing him to be weighed down. Sometimes I know men won't talk about it, but oftentimes with consistency, and then with that reassurance that Jerry was talking about, that is really what starts to create a safe space for them. And they may mention things in certain ways. They're not going to sometimes mention them like problems or challenges they're having in the same way a woman would, because oftentimes they're trying to be the rock for their family. And so they don't want to turn around and put the pressure on you as a woman, sometimes for some men. But the reality is you have to take time to ask. One of my other friends had posted, and I thought it was phenomenal. He said, men do dope stuff, right? He said, men do dope things. That's what he said. Men do dope things when supported by women. And I said 100%. P.S. So do women, right? Because what you want is typically what the other person wants as well, right? You want to be seen in the inside. You don't always want to have all these external things be something that says this is all you are, right? So let's see here. Oh, thank you, Camila. I was reading one of the comments because this is, Camila asked me what was I reading. The comments that come through the live stream that I have is coming from a myriad of sources, so you guys may not be able to see it. All right. So, all right. So let me kind of go down to the next item, which was they say success has a million fathers. I would say that to me, that statement just meant that it takes a village of men in different spaces. Like, just because your father's at the house doesn't necessarily mean that your coach can't be another father figure or doesn't have something to feed into you. I'll say one, when Jaden was playing football, the reason why my husband didn't want me to go to practice sometimes was because I didn't really like how some of the coaches were addressing my son, because I thought, my husband doesn't talk to my son like that. Okay, you could just speak, you could say it differently. And my husband was like, Shay, you cannot be like, because afterwards I would say, Jaden, how you feel? What did he say to you? And then my husband had to pull me to the side and was like, Shay, you can't do that, because that coach has a responsibility. He's giving commands. You won't always be where Jaden is. You need to, if I'm not stepping up, pretty much this is what he was saying. Shay, if I'm not saying nothing, it's all good. Jaden's not gonna die. I was like, his spirit might. And I meant it, because I was one of those parents that wanted to go out on the field, but I didn't want to be too much. So I didn't want to embarrass my kid, but I did have the strong side eye coming. But the point was that my husband was saying there are other men, Shay, in certain positions that will partner with me to raise this young man. And I don't think I can only do it by myself, because that is not the role. I'm not the football coach. I am not his teacher. I am not his professor. I am not, that type of thing. But this is what I am. But I am watching over my son, and I'm here as a sounding board for my son. So if anybody's out of order with him or influencing him to impact his identity, then I'm here to correct that. But if my husband wasn't there, then he would only have me. Then some of the times when the men were right, and I didn't feel as a woman, that I thought he could have said it in a different way, then my son would have had a different experience. But it was great for my son because he started going to different places, and the way he holds his own is different. But it's all because he has experience with different communication styles from men. He does not fold under a particular type of command, right? But he understands when he's being disrespected. That's important. That's important for his identity. He needed to see that. He needed to be around certain men. I even one time, one teacher was out of order. He was just horrible. He was a horrible teacher. And I said, Jaden, do you want, we could take you out of his class, because listen, we can. And Jaden was like, no, Mom, I need to stay here. I need to learn how to. And that was like, okay, I see this. But I did ask when Cooley wasn't looking, but then I got in trouble. So anyway, we don't pass by that. The point is, I'm living and I'm learning. as I was only raised by my mom, and then I had my bonus dads, but I'm a girl. That's different than being a guy. But the point is that you need both men and women to help shape the identity of sons and daughters. Also, my son and my husband will say at any time, hey, kids, let's talk to Mom about anything biblical or spiritual. When we talk, it's something that they come to me and they come to my husband, but my husband recognizes that this journey that I've been on with the Lord is a long time, and he respects that as well. So we work together to get that done as well, because that's a big part of our kids' identity as well. So anyhow, my point is, they say success has a million fathers. The way I took it was that they're going back to what we said. We need Camila said we need a balance. It takes a village, but you have to make sure that if you are the only one holding down that village as a mom or a single father, because I did interview a lot of single fathers, not a lot, but quite a bit. And the one that had the most children, I think he had 4 or 5 children. He was single, both girls and boys. It was tough, but he recognized for his girls, he could only do so much. He needed something else. And so he was intentional about seeking that out. And I think women just need to be just as intentional, and not just so much looking for relief, because that's when it may not be in our kids' best interest. So in order for this to be successful, whether you are getting other women or other men, you have to be very diligent. You have to be cognizant of what's happening, because again, they're influencing your child, coming back to what Jerry was saying earlier. And so whether it's positive or negative, is the fruit will take root. And if they spend more time with your children, it could actually, and they're not in alignment with you, it could be counterproductive for you and to you in ways that you may not know until 15, 20, 30 years down the line. And so just be careful with that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'll try to again post this video. It was titled "The Difference Between Co-Parenting and Sharing Kids." The video clip that I saw was on Dear.Fathers. I watched them on IG. I think it's phenomenal. You guys should subscribe to them. They have a website as well. But I wanted to ask you guys, if you guys could just put in the chat, do you think there's a difference between co-parenting and sharing a kid? If so, what's the main difference? And I'll wait because I know it takes a second for it to load. Any differences between co-parenting and sharing children? Just waiting. Question is there a difference between co-parenting and sharing children? All right. So I have a thought. Um, and so I'll go ahead and put it out here. The main difference for me when I saw that, so let me kind of give you guys a backstory a little bit. So in the video, these men, it's all men having a conversation, and one man, and then I'll come to the comment. One man says, "You know what? My son is goes between his mom and my house." He said, and so he was staying at my house one night, and he came in to ask me a question. I may be getting some of this wrong, but he said he came in and asked me a question after getting out the shower, and my son had a towel wrapped around him from underneath his underarms all the way down. And he said, "Dude, why you got the towel up there? You don't have any breast." He said men only wear towels from the waist down. Women wear towels up here because they have private parts up here. And so, and he went on. So the guy started laughing, and it seemed relatively, elementary. But the guy was like, real talk, guys. I know that seems very elementary that my son came out of the bathroom with the towel underneath his arms. But that right there, these are the things we need to pay attention to as men. He said it's all of these little things, because he didn't understand that the reason why women do that was to cover their private, their breasts. Men don't have breasts. So we put it on around our waist because that's where our private was. He said, and so it was trying to help him understand the different dynamics between men and women. We're not in the same house, so he didn't see them together. So it's just different. He says, so his mom and I have very candid conversations to understand what he does at her house and what he does at my house, because we have to be in sync like that. He said that is co-parenting, because it's not okay for him to do certain things at her house that he can't do at my house, and vice versa. Because it sends a message to him, and that message is counterproductive. And so when I heard him say that, I thought, man, that is it's key to having a conversation, being able to partner, have a conversation about how we're going to raise this child is more of a partnership. It's kind of like a business. You don't just get into business with someone and not converse about the key elements of it, right? And the growth of that business. When you just share something, sometimes somebody might get a part, sometimes another part. It may not be equal. You may have to, you may or may not have conversations about certain things, and the dynamic may not be healthy. Let me read some of the comments here. We have in Glaze, sharing children just sounds like they have a child together, but co-parenting has an intention, action, and sacrifice. I love that. That's right. I love that. Yes. Okay, Netta. I think the differences have to be established, upfront with expectations. I think there's a difference between the two, is what Camila said. Yeah, it is. I think it comes back to what Almond Glaze said, which is when it comes down to co-parenting, it's about being intentional. It is about being action oriented, and then understanding that there's a balance of sacrifice, and there is conversations to understand that, right? When again, sharing something, you may or may not have conversations. It may not be balanced. It may not be equal. It may not be shared sacrifice. It may be one-sided, but it comes down to, how are we being intentional about parenting? How are we being intentional about partnering? How many of you have kids that, whether you're in the same household as the mother or father or not, you've had to tell them, don't ask your dad something if I already told you no, or don't ask your mom something if I already told you no. Kids will try you, right? So how much more do you think they'll try it if they're not in the same house? Mom, even if we let something pass, like, oh, it's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal. She doesn't have to. Over here, she gets what she has a little bit of time. She seems to be stressed. Well, let's talk about how we do her stress decompression together, because what won't be happening, right, is at your house she's doing it one way, and at my house she does it another way. because again, that teaches them something. It honestly teaches some elements of manipulation, if we can really kind of go into that. And it teaches them to compare and create or add to the competition, which is not, it doesn't make for a collaborative partnership. It makes for people to compare, like over there, he gets a great experience. Over here, I'm struggling financially, mainly because he has another family and may not be providing over here. And now she thinks it's all, rainbows and what are the other thing? Rainbows and unicorns over there. But over at my house, she thinks that we're struggling, but really we're struggling because he didn't give me my money, or we're struggling because she's not present, because sometimes the father is struggling and the mother's not present. Right. So I think that was another topic I thought was fascinating. I will share with you guys one thing I want to encourage you to do: have conversations about these topics again with other people, just to get their thoughts. Ask other people, do they think there's a difference between co-parenting and just sharing a kid, and see what their thoughts are. I think it's good for us to expand our perspective. All right, so I wanted to ask you guys about this verse, Malachi 4:6. This is one of the founding verses that God gave me when he told me first about my assignment to encourage the intentional dads movement, as well as the family dynamics. So I'll read it. It says, he will turn the hearts of fathers to their children, and the hearts of their children to their fathers. Hearts of children to their fathers. So, of course, that's a part of a bigger verse. But ultimately, the message is still the same, which is there's a particular time, a time in the end times is what it says. God is going to turn all hearts of the fathers back to their children, and then the children back to their fathers. And pretty much in summary, if they don't listen, there's going to be some smoke in the city. That's the easiest way I can share it. And you can look it up for yourself if you are, curious. So what do you guys think that scripture means when you hear it? What do you think God is talking about, or the Bible's talking about, when he says that there's going to be a time where I'm going to turn the hearts of fathers back to their children and vice versa? Any thoughts? I know sometimes people, and not only people, sometimes in the Bible, it will use sons, specific genders, and they will be applicable to both, interchangeable, I should say, for men and women. But in this scripture, in the various translations I've read, is fathers. It's not, just hypothetical, interchangeable parenting kind of word. I'll give you guys a few minutes. I need to create something where I can just ping people in and they can come in and say something, right? On here, I can only send an email with the link, and then that's a whole ordeal. Unless I don't know what I'm doing and you know something better, you can let me know. All right, so I have one comment here. All right, so, okay, I'll go ahead and read it. I think that what God has given you to share, knowledge is a part of what that means. Getting knowledge and understanding. So so what I think I hear you saying is that the information and the insight that we're imparting and we're having conversations around, God is actually saying there's a time for us to actually share fathers to understand and connect back with the children based on what we're talking about. And hopefully with like the topics that we're talking about over the last several episodes, where fathers really understand their place in the family, understand the knowledge that and insight and perspective, care, etc., they bring to the family and why they're needed. And when they're absent, how that can impact the family. And I think that's where, and Netta, let me know if I'm sharing that wrong, but I think that that's what you're saying, that the knowledge and information we're sharing during this platform and conversations is what God is trying to say. I'm going to create avenues for men to get what they need so that they can reconnect with their children. And I'm going to give avenues for children to want to reconnect with their fathers. I think that's another thing that Usher mentioned, is that my father was out of order and he did a lot of things out of order, but I have forgiven him. And that has helped me to embrace other parts of my life. And so, okay, so Toya, okay, of course, God knew we would be here with the crisis of the fathers. Absolutely. I think it means he will bring them back to each other to mirror his relationship with us. He is our father. Oh, I love that. I love that perspective as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that that is right. In the end times, God is saying, I don't desire that anybody have any separation from me. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what someone has told you. I don't care how you have lived your life. I don't care if anybody on this earth understands why you are still my child, because my ways are not your ways and my thoughts are not your thoughts as humans. And I do what I want to do because I created this world. And so I don't desire that any of my children, again, not be separated from me at any point in time. So I'm going to do whatever I can in whatever way that I can to reconnect. And I'm hoping that they will extend and they will take heed and want to reconnect with me as well. I agree with that. Absolutely. I don't know if you guys have ever read this book, but I know a lot of people aren't readers, although hey, I think we should get back to it because, only hearing everything and not reading, we can be bamboozled, because what if it does? What if some things that we're hearing is not really what it says? Anyway, I digress on that. But there's a book called Interview with the Devil, What Satan Would Say If He Ever Told the Truth. It's a hilarious book, you guys. I think I may have posted it before. I don't know. I thought I had it over here, but it's super short, but it's an amazing book. It gives it's fictional, but it is biblically based. It will give you the verse where where Satan may be mentioned, and then the interviewer will ask him a question about it. So it will say something like, when God created the world, did you understand who the people were that he created? And he responds, oh yeah, I've always hated them. I've always known that they were made in his image, and I don't like him. Why would I like anything he creates that looks like him and it's supposed to be like him? And so they ask him questions about even end times. Did you know that the Bible, in this verse, it says that in the end times, this would happen, where there will be, these things will happen. And he says, yes, I know all about the end times. And because of it, I know that God loves every single, he calls us two-legged creatures, every two-legged creature. I know he loves them so much that he never wants to be separated from them. So what I desire to do is to distract them so that they will be separated from him. That is what I want to do. That is my goal. And so it's an amazing book. I encourage you to get on Amazon, check it out. I think it's like $5. Interview with the Devil, What Satan Would Say If He Ever Told the Truth. So let me go to this next scripture, which is Ecclesiastes. And this is all about let me just read it, and I want you guys to tell me what it means to you and why you think it's important that the Lord wanted us to know this, especially as it relates to relationships, parental, relational, friendships, etc. All right. Let me zoom in because I can on this one. Well, not too much. Okay. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. What do you all think that scripture is all about from your perspective? And you can say it in a couple of words if you, or whatever works for you. But what do you think this is all about? We weren't made. Yep, we weren't made to. We weren't meant to do life alone. Thanks, Almond Glaze. Yep. I didn't read this earlier when Netta said we have to have a heart of humility and want to change as it applies to us. We do. Absolutely. Anyone else? What does the scripture mean to you? I don't want to rush here. I'll wait for 1 or 2 more and then I'll go ahead because I want to be mindful of you guys' time. All right. So if something comes through, I'll go ahead and say it. But ultimately, I think Ecclesiastes comes down to, again, what Almond Glaze said. We weren't meant to do life alone, but partnership. In one word, I believe partnership is what God is trying to tell us. And that's why what Almond Glaze has shared, which is if we're not supposed to do life alone, I don't think it had anything to do with being married. It had to do with actually knowing you always have someone. So you're never, ever alone. Because you can break that scripture into various pieces. And God's saying, when we're, if you're together, if you guys can, roll out and do life together, you'll be able to benefit more. You'll be able to produce more because you are in partnership. If something happens, you can have someone to journey with you. If you fall, someone has your back. Those types of things. I think towards the end, when he says a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken, I think that sometimes for me, that comes into a unity of marriage based on what my experience has been, which has been between me, my husband, and the Lord. But it also can be the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So it just depends on what it is. But I think that that's what the Lord wants us to do. When we read the word, he wants us to make it personal. How does it apply to you? Let's see here. Okay, Camila. Okay, we are not meant to be alone. We are to be with other humans and with God. We are stronger together. A call to unity, and I love a call to unity. Oh my gosh. I think that that's what we're missing, especially with everything that we have going on. We're all like, it's very divisive and very fragmented. We're all over the place. The ability for us to be in a community, we have to be intentional, and it can't be surface. Most of the communities we have, social media wise, and some other spaces are very surface, even in the church, right? We have sometimes it's a lot of surface activity with no depth. In politics, we have so many surface things that are happening, but they're framed as unity because we come together. But coming back to what Camila is saying, there is a call to unity with substance, right? Substance that will allow us to be fruitful, that can help us cover each other, that can help us strengthen each other when we're not able to walk or we feel like we're not going to make it. So yeah, I love that. And the reason why I call that out is because when it comes down to parenting, I think we forget that it's an automatic partnership. We keep forgetting that. It's an automatic partnership. And just like business, I don't know how many people are in business. I know you do business of some sort. If there's an investment, we want a return on the investment. Everything we should be doing on the partnership should be for the growth of our investment, and that is our child. And when we're not, when we're out living our best life and we're doing our own thing, right? And we're doing whatever, understand everything costs something, and we're not assessing the cost. We're not weighing the cost at all until it's too late. And the thing is, we don't want to have conversations with the kids when they say stuff like, you weren't there for me. And you guys don't get mad at me, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this because this is candid, right? Then we'll say, I just saw one celebrity. He was going on a rant saying, parents, don't mind these kids that are ungrateful, saying that you aren't helping them, and you did the best you could, and things of that nature, which is true, because what he was saying, I respect the person that was saying it. It was true. They may have done the best they could, but the piece we don't want to talk about is that, did they? Right? Did you do the only person that can really say if someone did the best they could is the person, and are they being honest? And that is where the relationship suffers, and the unity we suffers, right? And coming together and doing life together suffers, because when we're not ready to have like real talk conversations, well, you did not do the best you could, right? I mean, let's real talk about it, right? You went out all those nights and I had school, and you left me with this person and you did this, or you were in, you also were put into a situation, dad, where you didn't have a father and whatever, and so you did the best you could. Or did you really leverage the resources for the men that said that they would be there for you and help you? Did you really look at the parenting classes that you could have took? And I'm not really trying to call anybody out and say and villainize anybody. I'm just trying to say sometimes we have to have those conversations. Like Netta said, you have to be willing to say, how can I do better? How do I do better? What is my belief system? What's my filter that I've used? And is it right? And is it right for this situation? Or is it a scapegoat? Because I don't feel like having the conversations. And so before we take on something and say, well, I did the best I could, you could have, just be willing to have those candid conversations to say, I did the best I could, but I recognize that I probably could have did better, and it probably had some impacts. Can you tell me about how it impacted you? Because that I don't know. Most people don't want to take a look at their actions. They don't. And that's the problem with the relationships. That's the problem with the partnerships, right? Because that's another question I asked, and I was going to get to, I'll get to it now real quick. From your perspective, why do you guys think that a lot of people struggle with co-parent partnerships? And when I say co-parent, again, I'm not only talking about the father or mother of the child, but whoever helps care for that child. Why do you think there's oftentimes a struggle with really raising the children, but the struggle is with the adults really coming and getting in alignment with each other? Why is that a struggle? Mm-hmm. I love different upbringings and parenting styles. Absolutely. And that, Tanika, that aligns with what Netta was saying, that a lot of people, when men and women aren't having proper conversations, we don't even get to talk about upbringing and parenting styles. And we don't talk about the trauma. We don't talk about the basics, but then we don't talk about the trauma, which then we end up transferring some of those different things or creating more chaotic situations. They have not come to a healthy, reasonable solution between them. Yes, lack of communication and trauma, absolutely. All these different things are, but here's the problem, guys. When I said earlier, we're not assessing the cost, which is our weighing the cost. That's also biblical and just practical, right? You're not seeing what the cost is. The cost typically is not always paid by us. It's paid by our kids. And then we say things, what's wrong with these kids? What's wrong with these generation. They're so disrespectful. They are out of order. And then when they come and they say something to us, well, you raised me or you did this, we say, well, we did the best we could. But then we don't elaborate on the conversation, which is, I believe I work with what I had. And you know what, real talk, I didn't even have much because I didn't have a good foundation. Going back to what Tanika said, my upbringing, I didn't learn that. So I did perpetuate, I did pass on trauma. I did transfer trauma, toxicity, etc. So, maybe I didn't do the best I could, but you can't be like passive or dismissive. You have to then be ready to have the conversations. Unfortunately, a lot of parents are selfish, absolutely, and can't see beyond themselves, absolutely. And that's why this is a candid conversation, because we are then looking for our kids to accommodate us. We're looking for our kids to accommodate us. We're looking for other co-parents to accommodate our lack of accountability. And then we're saying they're the problem. And then we're wondering why we don't have a relationship and we can't raise these kids. But here's the bright side of things. I like to say bright side. All we have to do is have these conversations and recognize that sometimes it's us. And that the cool thing is we can really, in life, we can only adjust ourselves. We can't adjust other people. So we really have something to work with. But coming back to what Amaglaze said, if we were ready to really say, I'm super self-absorbed, and I am because nobody paid attention to me. I am because nobody sacrificed for me, or when's somebody going to care for me? Well, you can have those conversations, but you have a whole 5 kids, 2 kids, and they're suffering because you're trying to reclaim something that wasn't poured into you. And now you have a problem because you're taken from somewhere, and it has to be the kids. And so if you're taken from them, then you feel like you're sacrificing yourself. But could there be another way? I believe there is. But you have to explore. You have to be intentional about exploring that. And it really does require, like you said, Netta, a lot of humility. So let me ask you guys a couple other questions before we go on. So exploratory question. I just want to explore with you guys. Okay. So do you guys think that our parents, moms and dads, do you feel like they're still interested and capable of providing mental, emotional, spiritual, and spiritual guidance and support to kids today? Do you guys think that they're interested and capable? Because like Amaglaze, I think that's being selfish. That's a lack of interest in a little bit, in so many words, a little bit to me. Do you feel like parents are interested, and do you feel like they're capable? All right, it depends on where they're at. Yes, I agree.
You mean in general or my parents?
Huh?
You mean in general or my parents?
Your parents. Well, you can say your parents. This is a good question. She said, do you feel like your parents, or do you feel like you as a parent, or people you know? Wherever you want to come, just let me know your comment, where it's coming from. Yes, definitely. But it has to start with them addressing their issues. So yes, Tanika, I agree with you. Parents have to, I believe that they are capable. I think that there is a lack of interest, though, a little bit. I think there's some parents that are not that interested in kids right now. And I think social media and doing life and this a new way of thinking has diminished the value in investing in other people and family. I think all of us are capable, though. I think we're capable of amazing things, but I think it's a matter of interest. Do we want to do it? I agree with Netta. Okay, we're capable. It's if we want to. Yeah, I agree. All right, and so here's the thing. The question is, if you know somebody, and if this is you, if you feel like you are capable and you're interested, great. The awesome thing is that if you have people around you that you feel are lacking in this area, what can we do to inquire about what they're struggling with and how can we help them? Because some people are interested, but they don't feel they're capable because of how they grew up. Like, I think, I can't remember who said it, if it was Tanika or Almond Glaze, or I don't even know. I've never done this before. Am I even supposed to be saying people's names? Yeah, because this is available. Okay. Oh, jeez. Okay. I just, in corporate America, I be forgetting anonymity. And anyway, my question comes back to, let me make sure I remember what I was about to say here. Shoot, this is what menopause does. I lost it. It'll come perimenopause. I'm not in menopause yet. Perimenopause. It'll come back to me. But okay, so yes, my dad and mom. Okay, mom, maybe yes. This platform will give the knowledge. I'm hoping this platform helps someone, right? But I believe it's helping me. But I think I was sharing that if we are a person that know people are struggling with understanding whether or not they're capable, we have an opportunity to help them, to explore and really help them highlight what they're able to do. Because sometimes people didn't grow up being affirmed. All of us, I believe, are capable, but we have to remind people. People had to remind me, hey, Shay, you're able to do that. And I'm like, I am. And sometimes they held me down until I actually believed that I was able to do it. And so to have people around that's able to remind you who you are, or to tell you, you may not have ever known. I was a horrible, my mom was horrible. I felt like I didn't get parented well. That's why I didn't really want anything to do with my kids. So I try to keep a distance so that I don't mess them up. That's a matter of capability. They don't think they're capable. They feel like it's not a lack of interest. I'm scared that I will mess them up because I was messed up. So how do we address those situations? How do we address someone who needs a bit of help? I believe that number one, we could leverage. I'm always an advocate for professional help, but not just any random professional help. You need to do your due diligence. When I looked into counseling, I know what my belief system is. I know how I vibe. So I prayed about it, and I kind of interviewed any of the therapists that I had that I was not connected to. And that interview went just like scheduling something, leveraging company resources as much as you can in insurance. You leverage that. And then you go and you speak to somebody that specializes in that. You have YouTube, you have a wealth of books, you have just topics like this that are platforms like this. But your friends, sometimes I just get with my friends, we send each other videos, and then we then have conversations about like real talk situations and say, I'm struggling with this. And sometimes they say I'm struggling and nothing else, we can go together, right? If they can't share best practice. But I think the biggest thing that we can do, going back to what Tanika, is be intentional about getting help. Be intentional about finding an outlet to say, I don't even understand how to work this. Oftentimes we'll say stuff, but we won't do anything to get help. We won't leverage free resources. We will only go one or two times, but we don't realize that we're really shortchanging ourselves. All you have to do is keep going. Keep going until you get what you are looking for. Because I'll tell you, real talk, the enemy's waiting for you to, how long is she gonna go about this? Let her go see a couple of times and see if somebody had talked to her. Hopefully she don't keep this up. You deserve and you're worth every moment to invest. I don't care if you watch the video 20 times. I don't care if most of us need, coming back to the verse we read earlier, we need a sounding board. We're supposed to do life together. We can't see ourselves from an outside perspective. And the enemy would desire for you to actually stay self-contained, because you don't get to expand your perspective and understand possibilities. Sometimes when I'm talking to, I can be talking to I think Netta and I had a conversation last week about something that I believe God told me to do. And when she said something, I was like, man, I didn't think about that. Maybe this. And that sparked something else in me. Do it all the time with my other sister friends. And even when you guys say something, it makes me think. My point is that we need each other to be able to use as a sounding board. And so when it comes to issues in addressing trauma, you need people you can trust and someone that's looking to hold you accountable, but will give you compassion and course correction. That's the kind of love you need. And that's and then you have to be open when tough topics come up. You have to be ready to own pieces, right? Even pieces you may not be ready to own. Oh, thank you. I think it begins by being honest and about your testimony. Sometimes you have to see it to be it. Oh, yes, you have to see it to be it. Absolutely. And sometimes when you can't see it, when you say it, I love this, Tanika, when you say it to somebody else and you can say, I don't see it, but they say, I see it. And that's something that my husband did for me. I had shared with him when he had asked me to marry him after seeing each other about 5 times. We'll share more of our more of our testimony together as we launch our podcast, which I'll keep you guys informed of. But when he asked me to marry him, I didn't think he knew enough about me to be asking that question. And so I thought, wow, let's check to see. And that's all I had at the time. I was like, well, let's look at the Bible. Let's see if we're capable. And so we sought out counseling. We had never known anybody that had premarital counseling, but we also had another conversation. And I told him the reason why I'm not sure is, let me share some other things. And it was just things about how I grew up and things that I was ashamed of, coming back to what you shared, Tanika, things that some things that were done to me, some things that I felt like I, helped contribute to. And I just, some things I did. And I thought maybe let me tell you these things. And he listened and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I just shared all these things. These are things that I was ashamed of. And he said, Shay, that's not who you are. Those are things you've done, but let me tell you who you are. And he started saying what he saw in me. You guys, I was like, oh my, oh, that's what you see. Oh, that it was a different type of thing. And it was nothing on the outside. He was talking about things that spoke to my soul, things that helped to heal me in different ways, things that I didn't quite believe some of the stuff at the time, but he planted a seed and then consistently watered it over time. And some seeds he planted, and then there was people trying to water all over the place, but I wasn't willing to receive it because I didn't think I was worthy of it. So, I mean, we have to be willing, like you said, Tanika, to be honest, straightforward, and then know that there's a possibility that could be where our breakthrough is. There's a possibility of being released from the shackles of shame when we're ready to have candid conversations with the right people. Not everything is should be is supposed to be for public consumption. Okay. These people on the internet, even if you don't know me, me too, you may not know who they are. You don't reveal your trauma sometimes to everyone. Right. But hey, I'm not the Lord. It's whatever God tells you, but be careful, because again, if you're going through a healing process, not everybody that's listening to you on social media cares about your healing, and they can hurt you even more. So I would say leverage proper resources. All right. So let me ask you guys let me ask you 2 more questions. Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Okay. So, what are some internal and external challenges you guys feel like mothers and fathers face today in their role? What are some internal? So some things that go on in the inside and things that are outside of them that make it difficult for mothers and fathers to do what they're supposed to do with their kids. I know some of you guys have kids. What are some things that your kids are facing that you feel is making it hard for you to reach them and influence them in a different way? Mm-hmm. I know we just had one that's obvious, right? Does anybody feel like social media makes it hard for parents nowadays? I don't really watch the news, but yeah, social media for sure. What about schools? I'm driving. Okay, yep. Notice I got so much to say on this. Yes, if you're driving, it's all good. Come back and put it in the comments because I'll be looking. So I know some parents are dealing with schools, right? Schools actually introducing stuff to your children and they don't even have to tell you anything at young ages. And I'm not only talking about gender, sexual, which is crazy, guys. I'm another squirrel moment. But back in the day, you remember we used to have sex ed. I did. I graduated in 97. So we had sex ed for years. And then you got to learn about a whole bunch of things, reproductive system, all this stuff. Then they took it out to schools. But then they have new stuff where they can talk to your kids about gender and sex in a whole different way. I find it crazy. It's bananas. And it's crazy. I think that's one thing that parents are facing. It's making it hard. What about jobs? Like if you're having to work, like, and parents had to work back in the day too, but if everybody's having to work and then they don't have, I don't know, we have Boys and Girls Club, we called it Rotary and different things like that. And there were teachers, like older people also invested in the youth, and they corrected us and they got us all the way together if we were out of order. I don't necessarily see that today, but I could be wrong. It may be where I live. So you have kids that can divorce their parents. You have kids, I don't know if you guys know this, but kids can report their parents, or teachers can actually file a suit or file some kind of report on parents to start an investigation against the parents around if they see the kids dressed different, like disheveled or maybe in a precarious situation. When I say precarious, from their perspective, they may not know what's going on. I think that teachers should be attentive, but some of the times I've seen it where teachers don't like the parents and they just do it just on GP to make it hard on the parents. And now there's whole investigation that Child Protective Services are involved in. And that's not okay either. So I think the parents you guys are facing a lot more nowadays. And I think that it makes it hard, but that's why you guys need each other. And then we always had friends, right? My mom used to say, don't be listening to your friends because they're going to get you beat up. But friends, that's another one, right? But really, I think social media is number one because it's whatever they put on social media or whatever somebody else captures about you and puts on your kid, and it circulates around the world repeatedly. Like mistakes that I made or embarrassing moments, it was not on constant rotation for people to see. So that's a problem. I know some young people are dating online and other people are using their pictures. I had a situation that I dealt with young professionals in another space that I engage in, and one had children, and her friend, who she thought was her friend, was using her profile to date. And some of the men walked up to her and her daughters and said, "Hey, are we going to be meeting?" She said, I didn't even know him. And he said, we talk all the time. Well, come to find out, her friend was using her picture. And this man felt very acquainted with her and kind of got a little, was feeling a little embarrassed and kind of felt like he was being kind of played with, and he didn't like it. And she was with her girl. She was actually scared. And so you have a lot of these types of games, but it all circulates around social media. All right, let me ask you guys one other question, then I'll let you guys go. What do you guys think kids need most from parents today? What do you guys think our kids need from us? Mothers and fathers, because even though we were starting off with fathers, I believe it's both. What do you guys think? And you guys can say kids like elementary kids or teenage kids. And real talk, a lot of adults are struggling with the inner kid, and they still have needs. They need listening. They need people to listen to them and love on them. Absolutely. Time. Yes. Time, intentional time too. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I remember I used to, I was pre-pandemic, I would work from home sometimes. And sometimes I would work until like really, really late. And I felt like because I was multitasking, helping the kids do their homework, but then working, I thought I was present because I was listening. I thought, and then my son told me one day, I don't, I'll wait until you're done because you're not even listening to what what I'm saying. And I was like, I'm listening. He was like, no, because when you're listening, you then ask me a question, and then I ask this, and then you ask this, but you just keep saying, and only you'll pause and then you'll act like this. And what he was saying to me is that you, just because you're here, you are disconnected, ma'am. And I'm not interested in this. This kind of treatment got me together real quick. Kids need safe spaces to communicate, yes, Toya, and share and express themselves. And so I don't know. One thing I was going to challenge you guys with, which was a self-assessment, and I call it a progress action plan, which is really to ask yourself really assess whether or not you feel like you are a person that extends time, intentional time, to your children, or, and I say your children, but I also mean even some adults, men, even some women that you know their inner child is craving some of this. Going back to what Jerry said earlier, a way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but really the bottom line is really take time to understand the inside of a person, and then get in and really cultivate what the need is, and or identify what the need is, and then cultivate what they're lacking. And so if they're lacking attention or love, encouragement, if they're lacking correction, humility, like address whatever needs to be addressed. But you first have to do what Toya shared, which is create safety. Because when safety is there, it helps out so much. You can really get to the root cause of things. If someone is feeling like they're defensive, oftentimes they feel like they have a need to defend or protect or guard themselves. But if they felt safe to really be vulnerable, they wouldn't do it as much, right? They wouldn't feel like they have to defend themselves. If they felt like you were listening, they wouldn't have to really shout or be aggressive or withdraw. Because sometimes people, when they feel like you're not listening, they withdraw, so they don't even share. Also, really be careful not to, when you're listening to people, be careful to not feel like you have to solve everything, right? Give the person an opportunity to really express themselves. Something that I share with the kids, and I got on. Thank goodness for the Lord using Chase in so many ways to help me grow as a person. But I learned through leadership that I wanted to be a leader that was a sounding board for people. And so for some of the supervisors or managers that would report to me, I had to realize, because I'm innately a protector, right? Because of how I grew up and how I felt like I had to protect and cover my mom. When someone needs something, I'll go, I'm ready to fight for you. What we doing? Right. which was a problem, because my managers that were suffering in that area and they were weak in that area, they would come to me when they needed that. And so they lacked courage. Right. And I would sometimes step in and fight that battle, which I shouldn't have been. So, and then on the flip side, I had some challenges. So I had to learn that, Shay, when you're working with people, be a sounding board. Ask them, your goal is to figure out, are you trying to support them in solving something, right? Or do they, which means that they just need you to listen, and you ask questions, you probe, you say, okay, so what are your thoughts here? You're trying to help them solve it, right? Not give them an answer, but really go through the process with them. Or do they need you to take action or provide insight? Those are two different spaces for me. And I had to learn that. And I had to learn that with my kids and my husband as well. My husband, because I naturally want to do things, let's build a bridge to get over it. Don't nobody need that all the time. So I had to back up and say, okay, so what are your thoughts about that? So what are you thinking? And then once they shared it, I was to affirm those things. And then sometimes follow up and say, hey, did you need me to check? Okay, I'm gonna check with you in a couple of weeks because I know you can do it, that type of thing, just for accountability. Some of the times they were like, no, Shay, I need you to do this. Mom, I need you to do this, right? I don't know how to do it. I'm not gonna be able to, whatever. But the bottom line is, I need to figure out, am I just there to listen and then probe? And then really recap or paraphrase or whatever what you have shared? Or am I here to actually be in a part of the execution, or carrying out of something to solve a problem? So understanding that is important, but you have to first create a safe space, right? Most of us have security issues. Right. So that's why when people are like, when people say, oh, she's insecure or he's insecure, I normally say all of us are. Everybody's insecure in some way, shape, or form. And I don't think it's a negative connotation that needs to be associated. I believe that insecurity is, there's a place in us where security was breached and it told us it's not safe. Right. And so for me, if I feel like something, if I have abandonment issues, or if I feel like people made fun of how I look or whatever, I don't feel safe in those spaces. So there's been a security breach that has told me I'm not safe. So here my walls is going up, right? I block everything. So when I become insecure, I don't, I really shelter myself, and I can't be my true self because I'm insecure in that space. I feel like I have to protect my real person, and you may get a different version, right? Or something until I feel safe again. And so all of you guys mentioning safety, I think, is number one, because until you get the person to feel safe and their walls to come down, you never really know what it is that's happening and what needs to be solved, or where they may need you to help them, figure something out. So, I think that those are the things that we mentioned: listening, love, time, safety, communication, verbal and nonverbal communication, right? Maybe level setting on some definitions as well, which especially if you're talking to a teenager or a child and an adult, between like judgment, like sometimes people don't understand what's what's correction versus judgment. You have to level set on definitions as well when you're communicating, so that the safe space you're creating will can manifest appropriately. And don't be too quick on giving explanations and trying to, again, fix things too quickly. Allow the person time to process, and come back to you if they want to have additional conversations with you. All right. So anywho, that wraps it up for this evening. I just wanted to ask you guys some of these questions. I wanted to explore these different topics with you. The different topics that I've talked about, I have they're covered in the book. But the co-parenting partnership, it's bigger than you. That's definitely something we'll be talking more about, even more. Opportunities and decisions, which is chapter 6, is also what we'll be talking about even more, because all we have are opportunities. We just need to make a decision whether we want to do better or not. And that's going to determine the quality of life that we have and the quality of life that we have with the partners we work with to raise our kids and our children. And ultimately, it's really time for us to start thinking about legacy and what we're doing from a character perspective. All right. All right, family. Let's just remember that we are here now moving forward every first and third Tuesday. So we will not be getting back together until, hold on, let me get my life together so I can share this with you guys. The 16th, Tuesday the 16th. Now, hey, check this out real fast. You guys know I don't know who my biological father is, but I did submit all of my I ordered was it 23andMe and Ancestry, and I did that for a myriad of reasons. We'll chat about that. I had some health things come up, and so I said, let me go ahead and make that happen. I felt like it was the right time. So I just got notification, I think it was last week, that I should be getting the results from both the week of the 16th. So maybe I'll have it. And if I do, that's what we'll be talking about. I'll tell you guys the whole process and all of that. So hopefully I'll learn something from this. And if you guys have done 23andMe or Ancestry, then, let me know what your experience is. Anything you guys think I need to pay attention to. For years, I was like, I don't really need to do that. And then I had all kind of questions about what are they doing with my information? But I just remind myself that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Whoever whatever the intentions of things are, from the food to politics or whatever, I just say, again, it's whatever you say, Lord. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Help me move forward and live the life that you have a purpose for me to live and my family. And so I walk in that. So with that being said, I will share the results, and I'll be going to Seattle as well. And so maybe I'll take you guys, maybe I can do some footage in Seattle to share with you guys, give you some visuals of some things. And who knows, if I meet these new people that I didn't know I was related to, maybe I can share more about them as well. So anyway, I'll keep you guys posted. Other than that, I will continue to share with you guys my insight about my bonus dads and their character, because I think it's going to be good for us to dive into more about what characteristics are good from a father perspective. And that's good for you ladies to know what you might be looking for and what you want your sons to be exercising as it relates to their character. And then men, we need to talk about what women you need to be looking for, because really we need to get this together too. Okay. Because we need for the characteristics, and we need to level up in that area and not make it all aesthetics. Okay. I know men are visual, but we got to work on some things. All right, y'all. All right. Well, y'all have a blessed evening. All right, y'all. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a few weeks or a couple weeks, and y'all pray for me, and I'll continue to pray for you, and y'all be blessed.